Ever feel like you're kind of going through life and you just don't have like a user manual?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into an ancient text that offers some surprisingly practical advice, I think.
Okay.
The Bhagavad-gītā,
Oh, nice.
specifically chapter 13,
Okay.
which tackles some really big questions
Yeah.
about consciousness, reality, and like who we are at like our core.
Right. It's amazing how a text written thousands of years ago can still feel so relevant today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this chapter really jumps right in with this conversation between Arjuna,
Mhm.
who's on this quest for truth, and Krishna, who embodies this like divine wisdom.
Right.
And Arjuna's question is something I think we can all relate to. He wants to understand himself, the world around us, and like this ultimate source of it all.
So he's basically asking, like, what's the meaning of it all?
Solely, yeah.
But instead of like going to Google or like scrolling through endless articles or whatever we might do today, he's going straight to the source.
Right to the source.
Pretty awesome. So how does Krishna respond?
Yeah.
Does he give Arjuna like a step-by-step guide to life, the universe, and everything?
Well, it's a little bit more poetic than that.
Okay.
He uses this metaphor of a field
Okay.
to represent the physical world, so our bodies included, right?
Mm.
And everything that we experience in this lifetime. But then he introduces this really fascinating concept, the knower of the field.
Okay.
And this knower, this is our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That part of us that observes and experiences the field but isn't bound by it.
So there's a difference between the actual like physical stuff happening, the
Yeah.
field, and then the part of us that's like experiencing it,
Right.
the knower.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting.
Like, think about it this way.
Okay.
Your body changes constantly throughout your life,
Mm-hmm.
but something within you remains the same.
Yeah.
That sense of you-ness that persists through time, that's the knower of the field.
Okay. Okay. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
So we've got the field, we've
Yeah.
got the knower,
The knower, uh-huh.
but then Krishna takes it a step further with this idea of a threefold reality.
Yes, he does.
So what are those three parts?
Okay, so he describes the supreme, the source of everything,
Mm-hmm.
then the individual self,
Okay.
called Jiva, which is like this unique spark of that source.
Okay.
And finally, Prakriti, or material nature. And this includes everything we can perceive with our senses,
Yeah.
the physical world, our emotions, even our thoughts.
So it's like a cosmic play
Yeah.
with like three main characters.
Okay, I like that.
We have the supreme, which is like the source of the play itself.
Mm-hmm.
The individual self, like an actor on stage.
Yeah.
Navigating this world of experience.
Right.
And then the stage itself,
Uh-huh.
which is the material nature that provides like the setting and the props for it all to unfold.
That's a great analogy. And just like a stage is, like
Yeah.
meticulously crafted,
Right.
Krishna dives into the building blocks of this material world.
Okay.
He talks about the 5 great elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether.
Right. Like those classic elements.
Yeah.
But it's not just a simple list, right?
No, it's not just a list.
Hmm.
He describes how these elements combine to create everything that we experience.
Okay.
It's almost like a blueprint for reality itself.
That's cool.
But he doesn't stop at just the physical.
Mm.
He brings in the more subtle components as well.
Yeah.
Ego, intelligence, and even the unmanifested.
Wow.
So he's highlighting that there are things that we can perceive with our senses.
Right.
And then there's this whole other realm that's influencing us, shaping our thoughts and experiences, even if we can't see it.
It's like this invisible world that's operating behind the scenes.
Right.
Influencing our thoughts and maybe even our choices and stuff.
Yeah, and it raises these really fascinating questions about free will, right?
That's wild. So he's not just giving us a theoretical framework.
Well,
He's
yeah.
actually offering like a path, a way to navigate this complex reality
Yeah.
and to move towards liberation.
Right.
So we've got this incredible map of reality, this understanding of the field, the knower, and the supreme.
Right.
But how do we actually use this knowledge to navigate life
Yeah.
and like move towards liberation? Where do we even begin?
Well, think of it like climbing a staircase.
Okay.
Each step represents a deeper understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
A shift in perspective that brings us closer to that ultimate freedom that the Gita is talking about.
Okay, I like that, the staircase to liberation.
Yeah.
So what would be like the first step on this staircase?
So the first step is often about self-awareness.
Okay.
Just like we were talking about earlier, really understanding that difference between the field and the knower of the field. It's about recognizing when you're getting caught up in the drama of the field, right?
Right.
In those external circumstances and those fleeting emotions.
Yeah.
And remembering that you are not those things.
Okay.
You are the awareness that experiences them.
So it's like taking a step back from the movie of our lives.
Yes.
And remembering that we're the audience, we're the ones observing,
Yes.
rather than getting like completely lost in the plot.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this awareness is key because it gives us a choice.
Okay.
We can choose to react habitually
Mm-hmm.
to get like swept away by those currents of our emotions and our circumstances,
Yeah.
or we can choose to respond with more awareness, with a sense of detachment from those fleeting experiences.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But it sounds a lot easier said than done.
it is.
So how do we actually cultivate that detachment
Right.
in the midst of, well, life?
Yeah, and that's where the practice comes in.
Okay.
The Gita talks about different paths to liberation.
Right.
And one of the most, I think, powerful is karma yoga, the path of selfless action.
Right. We touched on that a little bit before.
We did.
So it's not about like withdrawing from the world, right?
No.
Becoming a hermit in a cave.
It's not about checking out.
Yeah.
It's about how we engage with the world.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. Karma yoga is about acting with intention,
Okay.
with awareness of this interconnectedness of all things,
Mm-hmm.
but without attachment to the outcome.
Okay.
It's about doing what needs to be done
Okay.
to the best of our ability,
Okay.
but letting go of the need to control those results.
So we're playing our part in the cosmic play. But we're not attached to the reviews. We're just like giving it our best performance.
Yes, I like that. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
Okay.
And the beauty of karma yoga is that it's not some like separate practice you do on a meditation cushion.
Right.
It's about bringing that same awareness and intention to everything that you do.
Okay.
Whether you're washing dishes, writing a report, having a difficult conversation.
Yeah, it's like finding that balance
Yeah.
between engagement and detachment, between giving our all
Yes.
while also like surrendering the need to control the outcome.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing.
it is.
Also very challenging.
It's a lifelong practice.
Right.
And it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But the Gita reminds us that we're not alone in this journey.
Okay.
It talks about the role of devotion, of cultivating a connection to something greater than ourselves,
Okay.
whether that's God, the universe, or simply the source of all existence.
Right. That concept of bhakti,
Yes.
of devotion.
Yes,
It can seem a little abstract, though.
we can.
How do we actually cultivate that devotion in a way that feels genuine and supportive?
Well, it can be helpful to think of devotion not as blind faith,
Okay.
but as a practice of aligning yourself with something greater than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's about opening yourself to the possibility of a deeper reality, a deeper connection to the world around you, and allowing that connection to guide your actions.
So it's not necessarily about rituals or like specific beliefs, right?
Right.
It's about cultivating that inner connection, that sense of reverence for life itself.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that can manifest in so many ways. It could be through spending time in nature, practicing gratitude,
Yeah.
engaging in acts of kindness, or simply approaching your day with a sense of wonder and curiosity.
I love that, approaching your day, approaching life
Yes.
with a sense of wonder and curiosity. It's
Yeah.
like we're rediscovering the magic in the mundane, the sacred in the everyday.
Exactly. And as we cultivate that sense of devotion, that connection to something larger than ourselves,
Mhm.
we start to access a different kind of strength,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Kind of inner resilience
Mhm.
that helps us to navigate life's challenges with more grace and ease.
That makes sense. It's like tapping into the source of support that's always available to us,
Always available.
even when things are tough.
Yes.
But what about those times when we stumble,
Right.
when we make mistakes, or we lose sight of that connection? The Gita doesn't shy away from the fact that life can be challenging.
Absolutely. The Gita acknowledges the reality of suffering,
Yeah.
of those inevitable ups and downs that are part of the human experience.
Right.
But it reframes suffering not as something to be avoided at all costs,
Okay.
but as a potential catalyst for growth.
So it's like those challenging experiences, those moments of darkness or difficulty.
Yes.
They can actually be opportunities for us to learn and evolve on this path to liberation.
Exactly. Think of it like this. When you're going through a difficult time, it often forces you to reevaluate your priorities,
Okay.
to let go of things that no longer serve you,
Mm-hmm.
and to connect with your own inner strength in a way that you might not have otherwise.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
It is.
So it's not about pretending that everything's always rosy. It's about learning to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, the good, the bad,
Yes.
and everything in between.
Yes.
And using those experiences as fuel for our own growth.
Beautifully said. And as we continue to move up this staircase of liberation,
Yeah.
as we deepen our self-awareness, our practice of karma yoga, our sense of devotion, the Gita suggests that we begin to develop a different relationship with the world around us.
Okay.
We start to see the interconnectedness of all things,
Okay.
the play of cause and effect, and the hand of the divine in every moment.
Now we're getting to the really juicy stuff.
Right.
This interconnectedness,
Yeah.
the sense of the divine, like woven into the fabric of reality. It reminds me of something else that Krishna talks about in this chapter.
Okay.
The super soul,
Yes.
or Paramatma.
This concept this is a mind blower for me.
It is a profound concept
It is.
and one that takes time to fully grasp.
Yeah.
But essentially, the supersoul is described as this kind of expansion of the supreme,
Okay.
this divine presence that resides within every being and every aspect of creation.
So it's not just that there's some divine force out there somewhere,
Right.
but it's also in here.
Yes.
Within each and every one of us.
Exactly. And not just within us,
Okay.
but within every atom, every blade of grass,
Wow.
every star in the sky.
Wow.
The Gita uses the analogy of the sun to illustrate this.
Okay.
Just as the sun's rays extend in every direction, illuminating all things,
Mm-hmm.
so too does the supersoul pervade all of creation.
Wow.
This single unified consciousness shining through countless forms.
That's incredible.
It is.
But if this super soul is everywhere
Yeah.
and like within us, why don't we experience it all the time?
That's a good question.
What's blocking us from like tapping into that divine connection?
The Gita suggests that the veil that separates us from this realization is avidya, which is often translated as ignorance.
Okay.
And it's not about lacking information, but rather a fundamental misunderstanding of who we truly are.
So it's like we're looking through a distorted lens,
Yeah.
mistaking the reflection for reality.
Right.
We've become so identified with the field, with our thoughts and our emotions and our experiences,
Right.
that we've forgotten our true nature as the knower.
Exactly.
The spark of the divine that's like residing within.
Precisely. And the journey of liberation, in many ways, is about removing that lens, about shedding those layers of conditioning and misidentification that prevent us from seeing the world and ourselves with clarity.
Okay, I am hooked.
Good.
But how do we actually do that? How do we begin to like peel back those layers of conditioning
Yeah.
and reconnect with that divine spark within? This feels like a good place to maybe take a pause,
Okay.
catch our breath,
Yeah.
and then really dive into like those practical steps we can take to actually apply this wisdom in our own lives.
I'm with you. Let's take a moment to let these concepts sink in.
Okay.
Because in that final part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
we'll explore those practical steps in more detail,
Okay.
drawing on this timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad-gītā to navigate, I think, the complexities of modern life.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
We've been on quite a journey. Exploring the depths of the Bhagavad-gītā,
Mhm.
chapter 13. We've covered the field and the knower,
Right.
the staircase to liberation,
Yes.
the power of karma yoga and devotion, even this like mind-blowing concept of the super soul.
It's a big one.
It is a big one.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about how to actually integrate this ancient wisdom
Right.
into our 21st century lives.
Yeah, it's a great question because it's easy to get caught up in the intellectual side of this.
Right.
But the real power of the Gita, I think, lies in its practical application.
Exactly. So if someone is listening to this and they're like, okay, this is all fascinating, but how do I actually live this?
Right.
What are some like tangible takeaways?
Yeah.
Some first steps they can take?
Well, remember how we talked about the field being everything that we experience.
Yeah.
Our senses, emotions, the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
A good starting point is simply becoming more aware of your own internal landscape.
Okay.
So pay attention to your thoughts and reactions
Yeah.
throughout the day.
Okay.
Notice what triggers your stress response, what brings up feelings of joy, what makes you feel most alive.
It's like becoming a detective
Yes,
of your own inner world.
precisely. And this isn't about judging yourself, but rather about understanding the field of your own experience.
Okay.
And once you're more aware of those patterns,
Right.
you can start to make more conscious choices.
So awareness is the first step towards change.
It is.
But then the Gita takes it a step further.
Yes.
It's not just about observing those patterns,
right.
but it's how we respond to them.
Exactly. And that's where the practices that we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
karma yoga, devotion, cultivating self-knowledge, they become really essential tools
Okay.
for navigating those daily challenges.
Yeah.
Remember, the Gita is essentially a guidebook
Okay.
for moving from a state of confusion and suffering
Mm-hmm.
to a state of clarity and liberation.
Right. That staircase
Yes.
to liberation.
Yes, exactly.
We keep coming back to that.
Yes.
It's not about like magically transporting ourselves
right.
to some blissful realm.
No.
It's about taking those steps.
Yes.
Sliming the stairs one by one
Yes.
to cultivate a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Exactly.
But what does that actually look like,
Right.
practically speaking?
Well, let's take a common challenge.
Ugh.
Work.
Right.
We all have those days where work feels like a grind.
Yes.
But imagine approaching work, even the most mundane tasks,
Sure.
from a place of karma yoga.
Okay.
This means showing up fully present,
Mm-hmm.
doing your best,
Okay.
but letting go of the need to control the outcome
Okay.
or to, like, micromanage every little detail.
So shifting our perspective.
Yes.
Seeing our work as an offering.
Yes.
A way to contribute our unique skills and talents to the world.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective, I think, can make a world of difference
Right.
in terms of our own experience.
Yeah.
You know, we're less likely to feel resentful or burned out
Right.
because we're not carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders.
Right.
We're doing our part,
Mm-hmm.
offering our gifts,
Yeah.
and trusting that the universe will take care of the rest.
It's a humbling thought,
It is.
isn't it?
Yeah.
To surrender that need to control every outcome.
Yeah.
But, the Gita doesn't shy away from talking about the role of the divine,
It does it.
right? That sense of like being a part of something larger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And this is where devotion, that sense of bhakti, becomes so important.
Okay.
And again, it's not about blindly following rules,
Right.
but it's about cultivating a relationship with something greater than yourself,
Okay.
something that gives you strength and guidance and a sense of perspective,
Mm-hmm.
especially when things feel really overwhelming.
So how do we actually cultivate that connection,
Yeah.
that sense of devotion?
It starts with recognizing, I think, that this connection already exists.
Okay.
It's not something that we need to create from scratch,
Oh.
but rather something that we need to kind of uncover
Okay.
to remove those layers of conditioning and distraction
Right.
that are preventing us from experiencing it more fully.
So it's like we're clearing away the cobwebs,
Yes.
polishing the mirror,
Yes.
so we can finally see ourselves
Yes.
and the world around us with more clarity.
Exactly. And there's so many practices that can help us to do that.
Okay.
Meditation, for example, is such a powerful tool
Okay.
for calming the mind,
Mm.
becoming more aware of our thoughts and emotions,
Mhm.
and connecting to that stillness within.
And it's not just about sitting on a cushion with our eyes closed,
No.
right? Meditation can take many forms.
So many forms.
Whether it's walking in nature,
Yes.
listening to music,
Absolutely.
or even like consciously washing the dishes.
Exactly. It's about bringing that quality of awareness,
Mm.
of presence
Yeah.
to whatever you're doing.
Okay.
And then there's karma yoga, which we discussed,
Yeah.
right? Approaching our actions with intention and detachment.
Mm-hmm.
Even simple acts of kindness,
Yeah.
offering a listening ear,
Yeah.
volunteering your time.
Yeah.
These can all become acts of devotion, I think, when they're done with a selfless heart.
It's about finding that balance between our inner world and our outer world,
Yes.
between like contemplation
Yes.
and action.
Beautifully said. And the beautiful thing is
Yes.
as we start to live in alignment with these principles,
Mm-hmm.
as we cultivate self-awareness, practice karma yoga, nurture our connection to something greater than ourselves,
Yeah.
the world around us begins to reflect that inner
Uh-huh.
transformation,
That's beautiful.
isn't it?
Sure.
We attract more peace, more joy, more meaningful connections into our lives.
It's like we're radiating a different kind of energy,
Yes.
a kind of inner light that naturally attracts more of the same.
That's it. And that's the power of the Bhagavad-gītā, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just this collection of ancient verses.
Right.
It's a living, breathing guidebook, I think,
Okay.
for transforming ourselves and in the process,
Yeah.
transforming the world around us.
I love that.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible exploration, but as with any good deep dive,
Right.
it leaves me with even more questions.
Okay.
I'll feel very inspired to keep exploring these concepts.
Good.
Keep practicing.
Yes.
Keep climbing that staircase to liberation,
Yes.
one step at a time.
One step at a time. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
That's it.
So to our listeners out there, keep exploring,
Keep questioning.
keep questioning,
Yes.
keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.
You never know what treasures you might uncover
That's right.
within the depths of your own being.
Exactly.
Until next time.
See you then.